Okay, this is the talk for the first batch of assets. Um, this is more of the decorative stuff, so the rope holder, coin, a bottle, a cannonball barrel, and two crates. Um, in the actual modelling, I didn't do them to scale because the plan was to have them as separate objects in the same FBX. That way, when I put it into UE4, I could just duplicate certain objects. So like I could duplicate this and etc. etc. That changed when my workflow changed. So when I started doing everything on the ship, I did a similar thing what I planned to do, but instead of doing it inside UE4, I did it in 3ds Max. So first I'm going to talk about the low poly modeling, then the high poly modeling, then the unwrapping and the texturing. So first of all is this rope holder, and the way this was done was for the supporting things. Started off with a box, add an edit poly. I will just add a swift loop, just about there. I then selected this edge and extruded, which gave me something like that. I then selected this edge here and just hit chamfer, set it quite high, and then just something like that. Obviously it's different, like the base is further down on this example, and as you can see here, the topology not the best. So what I did was I just used target world and just dragged everything to one point, like, oh, I have to do this one first, but you get what I'm saying in that just doing it like this cleans the topology a lot. I mean, I kind of should really connected. I mean, I can just delete that edge, but yeah, just like that. And I did the same for the other side. For this detail here, this was done mainly just using extrusions and scaling. So first of all I started like that. I think what I did here though was add a swift loop, then scaled in, and then just chamfered like that. Don't think I set it to 4, just like 2 will do, just like that. And then so it goes up, so I extruded up, then extruded again but a tiny amount, and then just ring select, then extrude by group normals, and then just like that. So that's how I made that. This section here is just a box, and these pretty much done the same way I did this part here. So cylinder, then add an edit poly, add an extrude like that, then add another extrude, just scale that in, add an extrude, scale that in, and then swift loop, scale that in, and chamfer like that. And again, it's slightly different in that this one's a lot more rounder. I also deleted the end face just to save on geometry, and that's how that was made. This is just a coin, which is just a cylinder, only as you can see here it's a lot lower poly, it's only about 8 sides. This is a bottle, and again was done mainly using extrusions. If I open the cylinder, so we'll just start off like that, no height segments, and we'll just set that to 8. I'll then add an edit poly on top, add an extrude, like that, and then add a swift loop. But if you do it whilst pressing shift, it follows the flow. So as you see, it just rounds it out a bit. I then just extruded a tiny amount more, and then once more, only a little bit larger, and selected this ring, extrude by group, and that's how the bottle was made. Obviously I fixed the smoothing groups like that. The cannon is just a low poly sphere, so just sphere, and then just drag the quality to about like maybe 8. I think I did 16, but yeah, like that, and just that's how that was done. The barrel, again cylinder, add an edit poly, connect, scale this out, chamfer, and 2. I then selected these edges here, chamfered again, only not as much, and set that to 1. And then that gave me rings to do this. I then extruded again by group, and then with these it's just insert and then extrude by, I mean it's not really making a difference, and then just fixed up the engons here just by using connect, just like that, and just connect like that. Here I've done it as a cross, but that's essentially all I had to do. The crate, well the first crate is just a box with an edit poly, select it all, insert by polygon, then extrude like that. I then modelled another box, essentially, just to act as a just a slat just going in, and then the final crate is just a box. In terms of the high polys, what I'll do is I will drag them out, so high, 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 and high, and just talk about them here. Alright, so for this one, it's not really any different other than it's just smoother geometry, and this was done using a chamfer via smoothing groups, and then just a turbo smooth on the end. So the chamfering would give me my supporting edges, and then turbo smoothing would just round it out. For the coin, again, first of all I turbo smoothed, and then I tried to inset, actually no, first of all I inset and extruded to try and give me this like beveled look. It didn't really come out that well in the final version, but I'll explain why it's not really an issue later on. And then just turbo smoothed. The bottle again was just chamfering via smoothing groups and then just turbo smoothing. Same with the sphere. Same with this crate here. The barrel, it started off just that way, but what I then did was selected all the edges. I wonder if I could quickly show it here. If I just go turbo smooth like that, add and edit poly and drag it under. So if I just disable that, if I was to just quickly select these edges and just extrude inwards like that, and then just, you see, just by like extruding, it kind of just gives the look of planks. So I used a combination of that plus the chamfering via smoothing groups, mainly to help with like these areas here. And I really like how this came out. It kind of gives it a bit more definition, I feel like. For this, again, chamfering via smoothing groups and turbo smoothing. And for this, I modelled just basic planks and just put them around the entire thing. Then it was the unwrapping. For this, I have a different object because for this file I actually lost the newer version, so I've lost the unwrapping. So yeah, in terms of packing, with the benefit of hindsight, there are some things I would change. The main thing is this coin. I severely underestimated the amount of detail you would see in the scene. So I thought you would be able to see a lot more detail in the coin. So I believe I made it. Okay. So if I go to element, it's not actually that big, but like it's still pretty big despite what the player can see. He can only really see yellow with hints of red, whereas in the texturing, I actually added a like skull and crossbone indent. So, and you can't really see that in the game, and that's why I explained it's not a problem. Where the hell is that? I explained it's not a problem that the baking didn't work for this. How this was unwrapped. So for the coin, this and this is a planar projection on the z-axis, and then this is just a cylinder projection. This is a cylinder projection with a few separations. So I've got one here, one here, one here, here, and then for these parts, what I did was I just selected these points here and just say make this a seam. I then selected these rings like that, used quick planar, which is this one here, peel, which gave me these results here. Where are we? So we've done the rope holder. This is mainly done via axes, so this is one island, and that was just again planar projection, and that's the same for all of these. It's planar based on axis. So like as you see, there's like a cut there because this is a different axis to this. I actually, saying that, I did it to all of them apart from this one. And what I did was, for this one, I just selected this island because there were seams everywhere else. You just select that and then just peel it. And for the top, I believe this was a planar projection. Yeah, this was just a planar projection. These, yeah, this is a cylinder map going all the way around, and then this is a planar projection on the top, and that is the same here, same way I did it. This is just a cylinder projection going all the way around with two planar projections either side. This is exactly like the bottle where I had cylinder projection here, cylinder projection for these ones, a cylinder projection for these ones, you get the point, and then just a planar projection at the top. For the cannonball, it was actually a planar projection either side, because at the moment I'm still unsure on the best way of unwrapping a sphere. So I felt like this was the quickest and easiest way, considering it's only a filler asset and not really that important. So that's how I decided to leave it. This crate, originally all of these faces were sticked together like this, but because of packing, it caused a fair amount of problems in trying to get everything to fit. So it's just easier to do them separate like that, and each one is just a face. Originally I did it as like a planar cylinder projection for around the edges, and then a planar projection for the top and bottom, and then just when I felt it was easy just to have them separate, I just selected the face and just hit break, and that separated it. This was done the exact same way, so like cylinder projection for these parts here, and then a planar projection for these faces here, and then these were also cylinder projections going round. This was again, so planar projection for this, cylinder projection for, cylinder projection for that. This one was again, set my seam there, selected that edge, quick planar peel, cylinder projection for that, set the seam there, quick planar peel, cylinder projection, set the seam, quick planar peel, cylinder projection. I didn't do these one at a time, so what I did is I like set this, selected this, selected this, selected this, selected that, like that, and then did the cylinder projection. And then for these ones, all the main edges, I just had to set where I wanted it to peel from, and that was only like this edge. This was essentially just going down and selecting this edge, selecting these edges here, and that was it. And that's the unwrapping section done. So onto the texturing and baking. So when looking at the texturing, first of all, just have a look at the bake. As you can see here, there's a bit of issue where it's treating this box as floating geometry. After doing this, and only recently I've just found out how to fix it, and you can just do it by like mesh name, and I just have these as separate meshes. That would fix it. So if I go to bake, you can set it here by mesh name. I did not know that at the time. I do now. For this coin, you can see like it looks okay, and like I said, you can't really see the indentation that much. but it wasn't really a problem because you can't actually see the detail that well in the game. This came out pretty nice. It does look a little low quality, but it's 1024. Oh, I baked at 4K. Yeah, I baked at 4K just because I was bored. I did this in like another lesson in a completely different room, so didn't really have that much effort, and I was just kind of stalling by baking at 4K. The barrel came out really nice. I was pretty proud of how the barrel came out. As for this as well, this came out quite nice, as well as this. And for the texturing, the rope holder, it's my dark metal I made, but without the rust. I don't know what this folder's for. It just looks like an empty folder. Yeah, it's just an empty folder for some reason. So yeah, this is my dark metal. I also made another smart material which I forgot to talk about in the texture talk, and this is a base color, directional noise, which is hardly noticeable, more directional noise for height, and then I also added a bit of ambient occlusion color just to kind of act a bit like dirt and stuff inside there. And this one is pretty much the same but without the ambient occlusion. So yeah, base color, and it's a bit darker than the directional noise. And then the height for the it's barrel next. Okay. For the barrel, I used that same wood. Yeah, and for some reason on this version, it looks quite odd, and I'm not sure why that is. So I thought maybe duplicating it and setting it to UV or triplanar would fix it, but it doesn't. As you can see here, like, it doesn't actually change, and I don't know why that was like that. So what I had to do was I just had to carry on as it is. So for this, again, it's the wood I used, and then the dark metal. The crate, the second crate, is just that wood. Also, yeah, I just added a bit of ambient occlusion for this, as well as normal. I used the normal just to give it a bit more depth, because it came out nice, but it could have been a bit stronger. So this kind of strengthens it just by like duplicating the normal ever so slightly, and then this just darkens the areas of the ambient occlusion. Next is the bottle, and this started off as base glass material, which is green, no roughness, no metallic, and quite opaque, about 0.4. I then had roughness variation, so roughness generated by a cloud texture, and then I believe this is dirt. Yeah, so it's black, full rough, and no opacity, driven by a dirt generator. The cork was very basic because it was only really being exported at 1K, and this is just a base color of kind of ropey color with a roughness of about 0.8, and then cells generating the color and height. As you can see, there is a bit of height variation, and it's set to subtract, because if I set it to normal, it's obviously black and white. So setting it to subtract just gives it just changes the blending mode essentially. The coin. Oh wait, I didn't talk about the label. The label. So I started off with a base with a bit of height, and then full roughness, full opacity. Then you can see here, if I set it to roughly the same, it doesn't, like, you can see through it. So then just setting it to full opacity, then dirt, I believe. Yeah, so dirt generator, same settings, black, full roughness, and then this, I believe, is just a stencil. Yeah, so I set it to black, full roughness, and then I added a black mask, and then I wonder if I've got it here. I have not got it here unless I set it as an alpha. Maybe I did. But this was from my idea generation. So I just took what I'd done there, set it to be black and white, and imported it in as an alpha. So that's the label, then the coin. So if I hide, so start off with a base metal, so roughly gold color, no roughness, full metallic. Then I'd do pretty much the same thing, so height, just set that to minus. I mean, not that makes a difference because the player can't actually see it. Then again, black mask, then using that alpha as a brush. Then I added a bit of blood, and this was kind of dark red colour with no roughness. And then this was just making sure the opacity wasn't there. Cannon. Oh, so this is the cannonball, which it's that same smart material with the rust. As you can see here, it's the same smart material I've been using. And then crate 1 again is the same wood smart material I've been using throughout this project. So yeah, that concludes, well, not throughout this project, through this section here. So yep, that concludes the first batch of filler assets. Thank you for watching.